The St. Regis Kanai is an underrated hidden gem here in the Riviera Maya. The World Travel Awards called it the leading new hotel in Mexico, and it's one of those resorts you truly have to see to believe. It's an architectural masterpiece. Inspired by the Mayan calendars and stars, it's a hotel I had to do a review of. With 4 comprehensive tests and dozens of criteria points, I reviewed this hotel out of 50 points in 5 categories. The categories are the ambiance, the room, the dining, the service, and the it factor. I did get my room card a little bit early, and they're letting me see it before most luxury hotels would. So let's go get a sneak peek. Before we get any further in the ambiance section, I just want to briefly note that I am not sponsored by this hotel in any way. I'm not being paid by them. Everything you see in this video, I covered full price myself. And with that, I also want to show you how this hotel is actually laid out. So if you take a look at this map that my team and I created here, so you have the main check-in and lobby reception area with the valet right in front. From there, you have the St. Regis bar up above, you have a restaurant down here, you also have a restaurant over here, which is a second set of buildings. Now, some of the guest rooms that circle around the property here are actually pretty far away from the lobby and the restaurants. So unless you're staying in that circle, you have no reason to really go there. In the center of the circle is a long pathway that goes through the mangroves that we'll take a look at in just a second, and that brings you down to the beach. At the beach, there's another restaurant and a full pool. Now that you know where everything is, let's get into it. I want to start the ambiance section with what I think is the most interesting part of this property. The entire hotel was built to mirror a constellation. So this is actually the Pleiades constellation, which had huge cultural significance to the Mayan people. The ancient Mayans used to use the sky, the stars, cosmology, astrology to make decisions about their civilization. And the St. Regis Kanai really pays homage to that history. Now, I will say that throughout the property, there's not a lot of information or collateral that you can get to learn about that history. I had to go myself and find that. I found it to be a little odd that no one in the property has told us these stories or the reasoning for the way it was built, because it is the most interesting fact. And if you haven't gotten the sense by now, this looks more like a corporate headquarters than it does a hotel. In fact, it looks exactly like a certain company's corporate campus that we all know very, very well. Here at the St. Regis, they maintain the property incredibly well. So I want to talk about that just a minute. The entire hotel is actually built on top of a mangrove forest here. So the mangroves are natural to this region, and they kept them underneath the hotel. So they just built kind of around the mangroves, which is part of their conservation efforts. The challenge with this is that mangroves actually grow in salt water. So there's salt water all around the hotel, which the only way to really make that work is to have cliffs and drop-offs and things like what you see next to me. That makes this property not very accessible, and if you're differently abled, you're probably going to have a very hard time getting around on this property. For example, where I'm sitting right now, I don't know how you would get here with a wheelchair. With that being said, everything you will see when you're here on the property is beautiful. You have hanging vines coming down from the top of the architecture in the buildings. These mangroves are so vibrant and green and cover the entire property all the way through, and every surface of this hotel is always being cleaned. It's maintained impeccably well. In these mangroves is apparently a small alligator that they've named Jimmy. So they haven't seen Jimmy in a while now, but somewhere in this dense forest is apparently this small little alligator. There are little lizards everywhere, a lot of tropical birds. It just sounds like you're in the jungle when you're staying here, but it has the convenience and comfort of a luxury hotel. Now for the beach. Many of you might be booking this hotel to come to the beach, and it's far better than beaches at other hotels in the area like the Rosewood Mayakoba, for example. Much larger, soft white sand here below me, and the views are less obstructed than the ones we saw over there. Now, it's not even close to beaches in Thailand or Bali or Fiji or Bora Bora or the Maldives. However, if you're looking for a beach vacation in Mexico, this will definitely check that box. This is the main pool. Well, technically it's 3 smaller pools that make up a main pool area. You leave the jungle and the mangroves with the primary building, walk down a path, and suddenly you're at a beachside resort with a pool. The St. Regis has both here, which is really great. That's a big plus, especially here in Mexico. The pool water is warm and chlorinated. You can rent cabanas for a fee, and they have some fun loungers that are either out above the water, kind of like this hotel, or in the water themselves. And although there's only around 100 rooms in this resort, there are 2 other pool areas here as well. Taking a quick break from the St. Regis Kanai to tell you about today's sponsor, Vuori. So if you haven't seen the channel before, Vuori and I partnered up in 2026 to sponsor many of these videos. In fact, there used to be many comments about how tight my pants are and my outfits, and Vuori came in and saved the day. So today I have my Stratotech Polo and Meta pant. They're both in charcoal, so breathable, comfortable, flexible. I hope to work with them for many more videos in the future as well. In fact, Vuori was inspired by California coastal design, and being from California, having lived there for 13 years, it's just a perfect fit. If you scan the QR code that's on your screen right now, you can get 20% off any Vuori item on the website if you sign up for emails. I could not be a bigger fan. I have been since even before they sponsored the channel, and the relationship just keeps getting better. With that, let's get back into the St. Regis Kanai. The second set of pools is here at Jack's Club. So Jack's Club is kind of an interesting room where they have board games and Jenga, but it doesn't smell the best inside. It's a little bit musty, but it does have 2 pools out here. The third pool is here in the spa. Now the spa offers some very interesting Mayan-inspired treatments, and one of them actually uses the salt from the mangroves that you've been seeing around this property. Now that's actually red water underneath the mangroves. They collect the salt and use it for a body scrub that I'm about to try right now. A little deeper into the spa now, they have a welcome reception waiting area that is so quiet and peaceful and zen. In this room, you have a hibiscus drink that they give you and complimentary oatmeal bites. I can't wait for this treatment. I've been reading about it. It's super interesting. I got something similar to this in South Korea, and that one was pretty aggressive, but I'm sure it's gonna be much different here. That was a very good salt scrub treatment, much different than the one I got in South Korea for many reasons. What I didn't show you is when you first check in the spa, they allow you to pick the different scents and scrubs that you would like. Over here you have all of the salts, over here you have different herbs, you also have different powders, so you can literally combine the elements here to craft and create the different things they'll be using in the treatment rooms. Wow. All right, let's keep moving. The gym is spacious, well-designed, and clean, but they are missing a couple of key things in here, like barbells or decline benches, for example. But the equipment that they do have is technologically advanced and high quality. It is all techno gym, and generally, it is a solid gym here. Looking at the ambiance overall here, it's hard to not be in awe of this property. Truly incredible architecture and built with sustainability in mind as well. It has a minimal construction footprint and a lot of conservation efforts happening on this property. However, some of the materials, even though this is only 2 years old, are starting to rust or decay a little, but that is my only critique. Everything else is absolutely stunningly beautiful. I gave the ambiance an 8.5 out of 10. The room card has some very nice flowers on it, and we're just about to see the base level room. This property has 124 rooms and 19 suites, which is honestly a pretty small number given how large this property actually is. This is a base level room. So the base level room comes with a balcony that we'll look at in just a minute, this bedroom, and the bathroom. Personally, I don't find this room to be that impressive. It's a little bit empty and a little bit sterile. They could definitely go for some more artwork from the region or just incorporating more customization to the space that the hotel is actually built in. But there's not much of that in here, so instead it kind of looks like your average standard semi-luxury hotel room. The bed is about the same. Not the most comfortable looking, however, of course, I'll sleep in this tonight and give it a full review in the morning. But at first glance here, these are kind of rough throw pillows they have, and overall I'm not super impressed with this either, especially this headboard. Behind the bed is beautiful. This lattice wall here has individual small mirrors on it. That is one thing I'll say about this room. All of the mirrors and all of the surfaces in the room are impeccably clean. The staff has done a wonderful job maintaining this and keeping it clean. Final thing over here, they say that these ceramic light pendants are inspired by ceremonial garments made by Mayan women in the region. Personally, I think that's a little bit of a stretch because they are also saying this copper mirror plate on the wall is inspired by the stars reflecting to the earth. Again, I'm not really getting that same sense of tradition and culture from these pieces specifically, and this feels a bit like an exaggeration. We've seen so many beautiful hotel rooms at this price point that this just doesn't fit that standard. On this side of the room, next to this empty wall here, you have your mini bar. There's a standard Nespresso pod machine here. You've got some Nespresso pods, some different types of chips here. So you have jicama chips, plantain chips, and an enchilada flavored potato chip. Other than that, your dry goods are very limited. There's nothing to even purchase here outside of those chips. Down below, again, in a perfectly cleaned mirror mini bar, everything is pressure censored. Now, if you watch the Las Vegas reviews that I've done, I'm not a big fan of pressure censored mini bars. I'd rather have a luxury hotel trust that if we're staying there and paying this price point, I will pay for the mini bar items as soon as I check out. However, this one is pressure censored, waters, juices, and standard sodas with a couple of chocolates in there that are local to the area. So not the worst mini bar, but again, kind of matching the rest of the room, nothing really to write home about. The one redeeming factor in this room might be the bathroom. Although the bathroom is pretty tightly packed in here, it is very well done. I love these hanging mirrors with the dual vanity here, this kind of emerald marble that they have. It's a very beautiful marbling. It matches very nicely with this dark wood and the white tub that you have, which is also, by the way, a large soaking tub. There's towels everywhere on freestanding racks, very nice soft plush rugs here on the ground. And this bathroom is accessible from the hallway, from the closet, and the bedroom. So there's 3 different access points here, which is kind of a fun perk of the room. However, the real test of a bathroom is the shower test. Like the rest of the bathroom, this shower is exceptional, at least at first glance. It's almost like they put all of their budget for the rooms into the bathroom and didn't leave any for the bedroom. Anyway, the shower test is 3 different criteria points like always. That is the size, the ease of use, and the pressure. Starting with the size here, very spacious. You have a lot of room, almost like 2 showers in one here. Nice glass window, which gives you a sense of being open to the rest of the bathroom. And I really like that the dials are on one side and the actual faucet is on the other side. You have your handheld here, very discreet, elegant, and minimalistic. And you have a rain shower. Overall, it just feels very comfortable and spacious in here. And I really like how they place their amenities here on a almost floating shelf. Moving on to ease of use. You have 2 different dials. You have a red and blue marker for hot and cold, and the top, I would assume, changes the top shower from the handheld. Here we go. So that's not actually quite the case. It looks like you pull it out. So it took me a while to figure this out, which is not faring well for the ease of use part of the shower test. You take the bottom nozzle, there's nothing that tells you how to do this, by the way, and you move it to the right here to turn it on, and you change the temperature by actually spinning it around the circular ball joint there. The top then, of course, does change it from the handheld to the shower. Maybe it doesn't. No? So the top nozzle you actually have to pull out to change it, but it spins as well, but that spin function doesn't do anything. Once you figure it out, it's easy to use, but kind of a strange way to interface with the shower. The final part of the shower test is the pressure. The rain shower pressure is quite excellent. It's soft but consistent. Every single one of the spouts on the top there is shooting out at a normal trajectory, so there's no clogged or blocked spouts on the top. And it got warm fairly quickly. Overall, I would say that this does pass the shower test, with the asterisk that you're gonna have to learn how to use it before you actually do. As an added bonus, before I test the bed, this is the presidential suite at the St. Regis. At the time of recording this, it goes for around $8,000 per night, depending on the season, and it has 2 floors. Yes, this is just the top floor here with a dining table, a private jacuzzi, and some of the best beach views I've ever seen. And the downstairs has another private balcony and a pool. Honestly, yes, it's expensive per night, but you get 2 bedrooms for that, and other hotels I've reviewed can get up to $20,000, $30,000 per night. All right, let's go back to our room. Before I sleep in this bed and tell you how it is in the morning, I want to do 2 things. The first is talk about the turn down service. So it was a pretty simple turn down service here, and for those who don't know, at a luxury hotel, a turn down service is when they get the room ready for sleep. They dim lights, they put in welcome amenities, sometimes there's notes or fun little gifts. Here at the St. Regis, a tiny pack of chocolate, and the breakfast menu, which we'll get to in just a second. Otherwise, they put out a water next to the bed and dim the lights, but that's about it. A pretty simple turn down service. Now, I'm gonna call the front desk and order room service breakfast for a certain time tomorrow morning. A little later in this review, in the service segment, we're gonna see if it was hot, fresh, and on time. I always order the same exact order. It's time to call the front desk.
Thank you for calling DSK. How can I assist you, Mr. Walker?
Hi there, could I order breakfast for tomorrow morning, please?
Absolutely, sir. What would you like to order?
Could I please do an Eggs Benedict and a black coffee?
Is it would be just for 1 people?
Just for 1, yes.
At what time would you like it, Mr. Walker?
Can we do it tomorrow at 7 a.m.?
Absolutely, sir. At 7 a.m.
Excellent.
Perfect, Mr. Walker. Anything else that I can assist you with, yet?
That'll be all tonight.
Have a wonderful night then, Mr. Walker.
Take care, bye-bye.
You too as well. Bye-bye, sir.
Let's get some sleep. All right, good morning. So the bed and the mattress are actually higher quality than the rest of the room. It was definitely comfortable. Not very firm, which has been an issue with most of the hotels recently. This bed actually sags down a little bit on your lower back. So it has some give to it, maybe about time for it to be replaced, but overall comfortable. The room got cold. It gets pretty dark in here with those blackout shades and curtains, so no big complaints on that front. You haven't seen the balcony yet, so that's where I want to go give the room score. We didn't look at 2 things in this room yet. The first is this balcony. In my opinion, it's completely unremarkable, has no art on the walls, and the furniture is very, very simple. It could go for a rug or some kind of mat out here, but just a place to get some sun and to look at the mangrove fields. The second thing we didn't see is the quality of the water. So I've been, of course, staying in this room and testing the water and brushing my teeth and taking showers, And then I realized something was a little weird. You can see in this clip here that the water coming out of the faucet was this milky white color, which usually happens when the pipes aren't correct, or there's something wrong with the construction, or there's sediment in the water. Something is going on here for sure. Now, I'm staying here for this review. Normally with something like this, I would probably request to change rooms. It's kind of nasty to brush your teeth and to wash your hands and your face using that water. And that's the only water in this room, in all of the sinks, the shower, and the tub. I'm definitely going to consider that in the room score, and unfortunately it might not be the case at every room, but it was the case in mine. Getting into the actual score now. On the positive, the bed was comfortable, and overall the shower was easy to use and looked great. The room itself is clean and relatively modern. It has the automatic close and open for the blinds, and you do have access to a balcony. On the negative side, the room kind of felt low quality. It was a little beat up. There were scratches and nicks and marks on the wall, but it was overall a comfortable stay, and all of the creature comforts that you'd expect at a luxury hotel were in the room. I gave the room a 6 out of 10. I'm very much looking forward to trying the dining here at the St. Regis Kanai. I've been hearing from other guests that it is mixed. Some of the dishes are extraordinary, and some of them maybe could be taken a look at. There are 3 restaurants here. We have Chaya for breakfast, Riviera for lunch, and Toro for dinner. There is Picnic, the deli, and the St. Regis bar. There's a couple of fun things hidden in there as well. Let's go eat. Let's kick off the culinary journey here with Chaya. So this is a breakfast and Italian restaurant right in the center of the hotel. You are literally dining on the water's edge. You have birds in the water here, birds in the trees. It's a peaceful and covered, cool area for a wonderful breakfast. Here at Chaya, I got a lot of different beverages to try. I got a ginger shot, a matcha, and a coffee. The ginger shot and the matcha, unfortunately, were just a little bit watered down. Something was just not quite right there. The coffee was great, however, and I was ready to take a look at the buffet. The pastries were beautiful, the eggs were made live. The buffet is a great option for breakfast. If you decide to go a la carte, like I also did, I got the Greek yogurt and a traditional dish here called motoleños, which is a crispy tortilla egg and red sauce with plantains. Now, this is a traditional Yucatan food, and I love that they have this on the menu. However, it was a little bit messy to eat. As soon as you actually start cutting into it, it's difficult to keep it all on the plate and not have it kind of get everywhere like you see here. Now, I thought the flavors were excellent, but just a little bit different than what I'm used to at a breakfast at a luxury hotel. Now finally, the Greek yogurt, it was just a little sweet for my taste. The honey, the berries, and the sweetened yogurt just made it more of a dessert than a breakfast item, but overall, Chaya had incredible atmosphere and pretty solid food. It was a good start. But it does feel a little bit like you're dining in the commissary in the center of a luxury corporate building. Moving on now to Riviera. Now this is lunch down at the beach. It's a Mexican-inspired menu, and it's truly right on the water, right by the ocean. So you can feel the soft ocean breeze coming in, and the atmosphere is casual. There's a bar, there's some soft music playing, and you can really feel the breeze coming off the ocean. The first thing that came out was this coconut. Now, not only do I love that it was branded St. Regis, they also break it open for you and serve it after you're done drinking it. So you can eat the inside of the coconut and have the liquid, which, especially on a hot day here in Mexico, is a big plus. I love that. Now, the next couple dishes were not the best. The guacamole that came out was okay. It was lacking a little bit on the seasoning side of things. And the taco here, which is a chicken taco, I was told is one of the best things on the menu, the most popular, was just a little underwhelming, honestly, compared to other tacos that I've had here in Mexico. However, we're talking a minor difference compared to the normal quality we've been seeing here at the St. Regis. In summary, great atmosphere, excellent for when you're just having a day at the pool or the beach. You want to come in, grab a quick bite, and head back out to get some sun. Now we have Picnic, which is a deli that is open only from 7 a.m. to 11 a.m., which I found was a little bit strange. Usually a deli would be a place you go for lunch or maybe an afternoon tea or coffee, and unfortunately it closes at 11. So if you're from the West Coast like I am, you're gonna be a 3-hour time difference, which means that the deli actually closes for you at 8 a.m. unless you've changed your sleep schedule around. The deli itself is convenient, however, and a good spot to just grab a quick coffee or a sandwich for the day. I just wish that they had it open a little bit longer. Now for the main event. This is Toro. This restaurant has been named on many lists as a leading restaurant in Mexico and especially in the Riviera Maya. Toro is a fusion restaurant between Southeast Asia and Latin flavors, which gives it a very unique menu. It feels like a dimly lit Latin restaurant right on the water, but when you go at night, it's quite dark. So you have this soft mood lighting, but the music that they're playing is this heavy beat, low tempo, almost traditional music. It was a little bit distracting and almost annoying during the dinner service. The atmosphere is verging on the edge of a nightclub, but the overall mood there was much more subdued. As soon as I got to the table, there was a hibiscus shot in front of me. So this is a sour hibiscus sweet drink to clear your palate and get you ready for the dishes that are to come. I loved this. It almost tasted like a kombucha. Shortly following after that was a brioche bed with the eggplant serrano dipping sauce that I thought was also great. But I couldn't wait for the main course here. So I ordered the acevichado roll, which is actually ceviche mixed with a sushi roll. They told me it was the most unique thing on the menu that really showcases that fusion between the two types of cuisine. This roll was very interesting. It is raw fish that is actually cured in the ceviche style with rice and seaweed. Generally, it is a great dish, but the flavors could be a little bit more pronounced, especially when you have ceviche caught fresh locally right here in the Riviera Maya region. But then I had the butternut squash soup. Not only was this presentation beautiful, the flavors were beautiful as well. You have a coconut foam base with the butternut squash being poured into it with some caramelized seeds in there, and the mixture of flavors and textures was extraordinary. Definitely brought back the dining experience from a relatively lackluster start. And this dinner service ended with a bang. I ordered La Bamba, which is the most famous dessert in this restaurant. I had no idea what to expect. The server came over holding a chocolate bowl, counted to 3 without giving me any other warning, and smashed it on the table. The La Bamba literally exploded. The pieces of this chocolate dish went all over the table, and inside you have marshmallows, meringue, 3 different types of ice cream, chocolate brownies, and these small candied pearls. It was a fun experience to go through and kind of dig and find different things in there, and hidden in La Bamba was also pop rock, so it had this fun crackling to it that kind of was reminiscent of a bomb exploding. This dessert was very interesting. I love performative art when it comes to dining. I think those two mix beautifully together, and having a tableside presentation and preparation is always very fun. That was a great end to the Toro dinner, and generally speaking, a very good experience. One thing I want to note about Toro, the price is incredibly accessible. We'll talk about pricing and the value a bit later, but this entire meal was only $85 US. If you were to get a dinner like this anywhere in the United States or anywhere in most Caribbean islands, you would absolutely be paying a massive premium, probably in the many hundreds of dollars. The dishes here were excellent, and they could definitely be charging more, but they decide not to, and I really appreciate that. It makes this restaurant much more accessible for a consistent regular dining experience here at St. Regis. After dinner, this is the St. Regis bar, which is known for one thing, the sabering of the champagne ritual. So this is a St. Regis saber where they literally cut the top off of a champagne bottle every single night and then pour some for the guests. It's about to happen right now, but before it does, I want to tell you about their signature cocktail, which is the St. Regis Bloody Mary. They have little cards all throughout the hotel telling you about this drink, so I figured I'd try it. Ooh, spicy. So it has corn jicama and peppers on top there, which actually, again, represents the Mayan culture and traditional ingredients of the region. It's time for the dining score. So considering all of the dishes, the atmosphere, the experience at these different restaurants, I gave it an 8 out of 10. Service is so important to a luxury stay. It's arguably the most important. Here at the St. Regis Kanai, the service has been quite hands-on and very attentive. But I want to see how they handle a couple of our tests. It is 6:57 a.m. The breakfast arrived a little bit early, which is always a plus. We've got our Eggs Benedict, looks very appetizing, and that coffee that I ordered last night. So everything arrived on time. Here with the breakfast service test, we're also testing the runniness of the Eggs Benedict. The reason I get Eggs Benedict is because that egg yolk inside should be liquid and runny and totally smooth. That's exactly what you want. Wow. But I'm going to give it a little try here. Definitely good, on the higher end of the Eggs Benedict that I've had on this channel. Now for the coffee. Wow. Hot, fresh, tastes fantastic. Now let's talk about the pricing. So with these breakfast service tests all around the world, I get the exact same thing. So the price for this breakfast here is $52.63. And here's a grid of how that fares against other hotels that have recently been reviewed on the channel. With that, they've passed the breakfast service test. I want to now give them the official service test and see how they do. The service test is the part of the review where I call the front desk and ask for something a little bit odd that they're not used to accommodating. It's more to see how they respond to the request rather than actually completing it. Now, in the past, I've asked for last-minute things, sometimes unique creations that they make for me, but here at the St. Regis, they really tout that connection to the local culture and astrology. Now, in the past, I did a spiritual alignment service at Bishop's Lodge in Santa Fe. I'm wondering if they can do something similar here at the St. Regis.
Hello, Mr. Walker. Good morning. Good afternoon. I'm so sorry. How can we assist you today?
Yeah, I have kind of an odd request for you, actually. I was wondering if you have anyone on your staff that could do a astrological or spiritual experience for me tonight.
Absolutely. I come back to call and perfect.
Okay, that sounds good.
Perfect. Have a lovely day. And you can text with your butler or you can call and I can help, sir.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, so they're checking availability to see if there's anything spiritual that they're able to accommodate. It sounds like there might be an oracle. In the meantime, let's go walk around the resort a little bit and talk about the service generally. The service here is a little bit difficult to diagnose because on one hand, every single staff that I interacted with was so kind, helpful, supportive. But on the other hand, there was no welcome drink at check-in, no welcome amenity in the room, and the service in the dining was not too memorable. What it's really going to come down to is this service test here, and then we'll give it a full score. Now, I've been writing with my butler for most of the day today, and unfortunately, the timing for that oracle just won't work out. They tried everything they possibly could, and it just didn't sync. But what they are able to do instead is a personalized coffee tasting ceremony right here in the library. So right next to the lobby, you have this full library. There's not a lot of books in here. It's more of just a quiet place to come and work or read and relax. But today, there's going to be a coffee tasting. An excellent pivot for the day here today. This is all complimentary. Really extraordinary service here. My service score for the St. Regis. So let me tell you why this isn't a 10. There was no welcome amenity at check-in, there were no amenities in the room, and no one was there to show us around the hotel or give additional information when I first checked in. I would have loved that instead of having to research it myself, so I think the check-in process could use some improvement. Beyond that, our butler was excellent, but much less present than at some other luxury hotels that have a butler. The fact that they provide a butler at all is really amazing. The text-based communication was excellent and very fast and always got everything I asked for correct. All of the other interfaces with staff throughout the hotel were also excellent. They passed the service test and they passed the breakfast service test. All things considered, I gave the service an 8 out of 10. The first consideration in the It Factor score is the location. So the St. Regis is located in the Mayakoba Riviera Maya region of Mexico, about 45 minutes from Cancun, just south on the border. Speaking to the drivability of the area and things to do, it's really a resort town. And yes, there's some small spots in the area that you can go to enjoy, but most of this hotel is meant to be enjoyed at the property. Speaking to that, they don't have a complimentary house car for guests here, so if you're going anywhere, you're going to probably be paying a taxi fee for that, but they do have these complimentary golf carts. I wish that they had a bike rental service here at the St. Regis. It'd be so much fun to bike on those wooden paths and around the property, but the golf cart is basically the same thing. The It Factor is also the unique nature of this hotel. And I think you can see it behind me that this is one of the most unique properties that you could possibly book. The mangrove trees here filling in the center, this massive circular celestial building, and just the way it's designed between the modern textures and the organic elements is just really mind-blowing. It's one of the most interesting properties and definitely something I'll remember for a long time. The final consideration in the It Factor is the value. The St. Regis has invested a ton of resources into the public spaces in this hotel. Like these orchids, for example, are replaced every 2 weeks, and just imagine how much it costs to continue to maintain and clean this property. The reason I'm bringing that up is the public spaces don't match the quality of the room. I would actually spend a lot more per night if they invested that money into the materials and the design of the room. It's something for them to consider because the public spaces are really extraordinary. Even with that being said, for the price point, you get quite a lot included in your stay, from champagne sabering to the golf cart usage, all the way to a full activities list that they have, including complimentary yoga. If you get the opportunity to stay here, you will not leave feeling disappointed or like you spent too much for what you're getting. Considering all three criteria, the location, the unique nature of the hotel, and the value, I gave the It Factor an 8.5 out of 10 for this hotel. It's definitely one of the most interesting so far. That was the St. Regis Kanai, an extraordinarily interesting hotel in the Riviera Maya. If you add all of the scores together throughout this review, I gave this hotel a 39 out of 50. With that, it is sadly time to check out. Make sure to check back on the channel for more hotels in this area so you can compare. But until then, I'm Ryan Walker, and we'll see you on the next one.